Hi, I'm Ashton. It's been a while, or I guess not, since this video you're seeing after the previous one that I posted, if all goes as to plan, which hopefully it does. A fun fact about me is that I've recently picked up Hey What's Up You Guys as an ukulele, and I was really tempted to start this video like that, so you're welcome for not doing that. The last video that you saw is, if you watched it, no pressure to, is a lot more structured than this one. This one I'm just gonna chat. This is like my warm-up for filming the other video. I have a little list of things that I'm gonna talk about that I thought you might be curious about. That's it, no major big plan for this. We are just chilling. We're friends. Not really, this is quite parasocial, but we can pretend to be friends. Yes? Cool. It may be obvious from my surroundings, but I moved again. That happens when you're my age, as I'm sure many of you know. My bangs don't look good. I'm fully aware of that. You don't need to tell me that I need to dye them because I know. I'm gonna go for some lightly gothy red and black makeup. I haven't done my makeup in probably about a month because I moved, and that's what happens when you move, is that you don't have time to do things that you enjoy for a while, and that's okay. But I'm excited to do something a little creative and fun on my face. So we'll see where this goes. If you're watching this, you've probably watched me do makeup before, so you know the vibes. Fuck around and find out. That's the vibes. The first thing on my list of little things to talk about is that I graduated. Wah. If you were previously unaware, which you may have been, I don't really talk about it a lot or make videos a lot for that matter. But I went to college for my undergraduate degree and I succeeded. I accomplished it, I did it, I got a degree. So that's cool. Not that it's been that useful yet, but you know, hopefully that changes. I majored in philosophy and psychology, and then I did a minor in sexuality studies. It was fun. I would recommend going to college if you want to, and if you can afford it. It's not for everyone though, so don't feel pressured to go just because that's like the cultural norm at this point in time, because there are so many other options, and school is not for everyone, and that's okay. And I know that everyone tells you to go to school because that's normal. I feel like I learned a lot, but not in my classes. You know, if you have also been to college, I'm sure that you understand what I mean from this. But a lot of the times I went to class and I was like, you're not teaching me anything. I'm just having a discussion with other people who may or may not know what we're talking about. A lot of the times I would read the same thing over and over in different classes. And to be fair, I took a lot of classes on the topic of sex and sex history and gender and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that I would not have liked to learn different things in all of those classes. And you know, I think that's a problem with a lot of schools, not just the one I went to, that if you focus on something in your studies, a lot of people are just gonna tell you the same thing and you're just gonna be like, yeah, I did learn this in the introduction class that I was required to take for this class, but thank you. And then you just end up reading the same things over and over. And some of those things are really good. I'm glad that I was assigned Audre Lorde in 4 different classes, but I wish it would have been different Audre Lorde pieces. But obviously that's not even the biggest problem because there's massive defunding and, you know, messy politics to do with every single university. So really that's not a priority right now, I don't think. Something else I wanted to talk about relatively early on in the video is that I, like many people who live a portion of their lives online, have made the very common decision to not talk about my relationships on the internet anymore. I may talk about things vaguely or in general or certain experiences I've had or whatever, but I'm gonna leave the people out of it. And that's more or less in line with what I've done in the past. I know that you met my previous partner on a few occasions. I'm no longer with him. I wanted to address that because every time I post a video, I get comments about it. I just don't want that to be the case anymore. I just don't want my relationships to be online. I don't think it's inherently unhealthy, but I don't think it works for me in my current relationship in the way that it does for some people. And I simply ask that you respect that and not ask too many questions. Also, I made myself a tea and I totally forgot about it. Cheers. And my challenge for this video is to finish drinking this before I put on my lipstick, because otherwise that's not gonna go well. I feel from what I've seen, at least from the folks that I follow online, this is a very common step of just not wanting your relationships to be online. There's definitely a certain complication of being queer, especially because I'm relatively openly like non-normative as a queer person, right? I don't want my relationships to be subject to scrutiny in the way that they often are when you put them on the internet. And this is not like directly a my audience problem. This is just a internet problem as a whole. And you guys did not do anything like wrong. This isn't like a privilege I'm taking away from you. It's just a boundary that I'm setting for myself and for my own relationships. And it doesn't have anything to do with the way that you have treated my relationships in the past. Like, it's just about me. So I just wanted to get that out of the way relatively early on, and I hope that you respect that. I might have to go get a new eyeliner because I don't think this one has much in it. So I think that about sums that up. Sometimes, as someone who is on the internet on occasion and also wears makeup on occasion, people will ask for like my advice on it. And I really hope that those people are watching this video so that they can witness how like messy and nonchalant I am about putting on makeup, because it's just a process. You just kind of got to do it and learn as you go. There's no rules. People will tell you that there are rules. They're wrong. It doesn't matter. Do what you want. It's your face, man. I don't know. That also happens to be the exact same advice I have for trans masculine people who want to wear makeup, because I am that type of person, and I get that type of person asking me questions like, how do you feel masculine when you wear makeup? And it's like, you just do. It's not about other people's perceptions of you. If big eyeliner is masculine to you, then it's masculine, and it doesn't matter. I just don't understand why it matters to people what the gender of something that you put on your face is. Like, it's paint. Okay, I grabbed 3 more eyeliners, so if I have to get up again, it's over. Video canceled. I'm leaving YouTube. What else did I want to talk about? Jobs. So because I graduated, obviously I need a job now. I would love to make YouTube videos and have that be like a source of income for me, but hello, editing Ashton. YouTube is not an income source for me, really. For my last video, considering the amount of time I worked on it, I made about $2 an hour, which, if you're familiar at all with the cost of living in the United States, is not sustainable. And also, as I talk about like job searching and stuff, literally the last thing I want is for you to comment advice. I know it might be tempting. Please don't do it. I have adults in my life. I really do not need someone who does not know me telling me to use LinkedIn. It would be a very unpleasant environment for me. Trust me, I am already doing everything that I can. I do not need your advice. Thank you. And I wanted to talk a little bit about job searching right now because it does suck. I don't want to harp on this too much because I'm sure that there are like a lot of you that are in the same exact position as I am in terms of this, but it is rough getting a job right now. And it's worse when you have like a personal code of ethics, you know, that you like don't want to stray from. I currently have a part-time job and I work right now about like 5 to 10 hours a week, which obviously is not enough to sustain me, and that's why I need another job or two. But I work at a barn. I do like barn chores, and I take care of horses, and sometimes I teach children lessons, and I really enjoy doing all of those things, but it's not something where I can get employed full-time unless like I had a lot more qualifications and I found a place that was hiring for something like that. But if you were curious, a lot of the reasons, honestly, why it sucks so much is that my degree is not that useful on like an undergraduate level. You know, if I had a PhD in philosophy or a PhD in psychology, that would be a different story. But I, as it turns out, really dislike the field of psychology, and I kind of want to make a video about it because it overlaps so much with disability justice thoughts. I've talked about mental health on this channel a lot before, but like learning about it on a university level has been very disempowering in terms of like being a mentally ill person, being an autistic person especially. It sucked in like a lot of ways. I have a psychology degree, you know, I've done psychology research, I've done quantitative psychology, I've done social psychology, I've done some clinical psychology, I've done developmental psychology. I've learned like so many things in this field, and all that I've really learned is that it sucks, and that it has a really like gross history full of white supremacy and full of colonialism and full of misogyny and full of transphobia and homophobia. I guess because maybe of my sexuality studies minor and also just my general interest in like radical history, most of the negative things that I've learned about psychology have been on my own. When you get a degree in psychology, they're not going to tell you that like the statistics that you're learning were all created by eugenicists, right? You only learn that by taking a disability studies course or like going out on your own to seek it out. And it's really hard to want to go into a field that like actively hates who you are, you know, and actively hates who the majority of the people's lives that you value are. So that's that. And I'm not saying that like all psychologists are terrible people. Obviously, some people in the field are doing really cool work, and I'm sure that is true of my university too. But the classes that I took and some of the professors that I had and like the opportunities or lack thereof that there were, it all just really sucked for me, and I really don't like psychology as a discipline. And I kind of want to talk about that more in a video, but I don't know how interesting it would be. I did a video on being trans in like trans studies academia and slash like gender studies academia in general, and that did relatively well. So if you'd be interested about like being autistic as a psychology student, I can tell you why for me it sucked so much. When I started school, when I started university, I'm sure some of you remember this, I wanted to be a gender therapist. I wanted to go through grad school for psychology and do like clinical psychology for trans kids. And I really, really no longer want to do that. And it's not because I don't think gender therapy can be a useful tool or like really helpful for some people. It absolutely can be. But the field of psychology as a whole is something that I've like almost completely lost faith in. And that's because I studied it. Like I learned too much about it. I never thought it was a cure-all necessarily, but I thought I could do good work in it, right? And now I am not sure if I believe that anything like materially revolutionary is not the right word, but like I no longer think that my future lies in psychology, right? And that may not be a surprise to any of you, but if it is, now you know. Anyway, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't take a psychology research job. I do think that there is some like interesting research in the field happening, and I'm qualified to do research, right? But the thing about finding a research job is that every other posting is like, we're doing research for the US Army, and I'm like, you look at me and think that I'm about to do research for the US Army? And outside of research, the only thing that you're really qualified to do with a undergrad psychology degree is providing ABA therapy. And this kind of ties into my qualms with the field as a whole. ABA, for those unaware, is a form of therapy that is primarily used for autistic children, and a lot of autistic people in like the capital A autistic world, community, sphere, advocacy circles, believe that it is an abusive practice, and I agree with that. A lot of people that have been through it describe it as abusive. Because there is such a widespread like agreement that this practice like is bad for autistic people and sucks to go through and should not be like the primary form of care for autistic kids, I simply don't want to do it, and I don't think that that should be shocking, but it is apparently, because that's the only thing you can do with an undergrad psychology degree other than research. And what can you do with an undergrad philosophy degree? Let me tell you, you can go to law school, that's it. I loved my philosophy coursework. I wrote some stuff that I'm really proud of. I loved a lot of the professors that I had, but a lot of what you do with a philosophy degree is just more philosophy, you know, like going to school again. And I might go back to school. I might not. I'm undecided. I'm 22. I don't have to decide right now. But also, like, if I'm going to tell you that psychology sucks, I'm also going to tell you that philosophy sucks. It wasn't, like, as bad at my school in terms of, like, if ableism permeated the psychology department, I would probably say that, like, Eurocentrism permeated the philosophy department. Obviously, it was, like, a lot of things, but I would say that was, like, the primary issue with the course offerings and, like, the department as a whole, which is very characteristic of philosophy departments, at least in the United States. But, like, as a whole, I enjoyed philosophy, so I'm not going to say it was useless to get a degree in it, because it's generally what I cared about a lot more than psychology. Anyway, I was talking about jobs. I got distracted. In philosophy, intro to ethics, if you've ever taken an ethics class, or if you've ever, engaged with ethics in whatever way, you may have heard of this thought experiment that I thought about all the time, and now I'm like living it. And it's set in like the Cold War era. And the thought experiment is this man needs a job, right? He's a physicist and he needs a job. He got a job offer, but it is for a weapons manufacturer, and he is a peace advocate. He is an anti-militarist, right? Should he take the job? And you think it's an easy no, right? But then it gets more complicated of like, well, he is the sole provider for his wife and kids. If this is the only job he's ever offered, is it okay for him to take it? There's also the angle of like, this job is gonna get done whether or not this specific guy takes it. So would it potentially be better for this specific guy who is anti-war to take this job and maybe sabotage it from the inside, or like he wouldn't work as fast perhaps as someone who is actually passionate about weapons manufacturing? I don't know if classic is the right word, but it's a very frequently discussed philosophy experiment, and it's just really funny because now that I'm like, searching through the job market, it's no longer an experiment. That is how I feel. I feel like that guy, and it kind of feels like a matter of time with like how desperate am I gonna get before I do take a research job that is in support of the US military. Like, I don't know what the answer is, and survival is hard under capitalism, and that's, and I keep seeing tweets about how hard it is being an autistic person looking for a job, and they just resonate so hard with me because it's true. It's really, really hard to get a job as an autistic person, especially, and I have so much empathy for everyone else that is in my position, because it sucks. It sucks pretty bad. I recently-ish went to the doctor, and this is gonna be so unsurprising to some of you, I'm sure, but I discussed with my doctor my chronic pain symptoms and like my other assorted symptoms, and she had me do flexibility tests, and then she was like, EDS, and I was like, yeah, unsurprising. So I have finally, I guess, been medically like recognized as someone with EDS, so now I can talk to you about it. I've suspected that I have EDS for like quite some time, and I'm not really that surprised. My current partner also has EDS, and I know a lot of trans people with EDS and a lot of autistic people with EDS, so it's really as a whole unsurprising, but it was like kind of funny to go to the doctor and be like, hey, here's what I'm experiencing, I think it might be EDS, and then have her like look at me do a few stretches that are like very easy for me to do. I pass every single thing on that like Baton score checklist, if you're familiar, and have her just be like, yeah, no, like there's no question about it. So that was amusing. I also recently adopted a cat. She is so sweet. Her name is Willow. She is the sweetest, most angelic little kitty cat in the world. I love her so much. I can put in a little video here if you want to meet her real quick. She was found outside as a 6-week-old kitten, and she'd been attacked by some sort of wild animal, and she lost most of her back right leg, and then she got a bone infection in her back right leg, so it's been like completely amputated. She is 1 year old now. She's been through 2 foster homes, and now she's in her forever home with us. And she is the sweetest cat in the world. She constantly purrs. She's warmed up to us and being in our house like so quickly, and it's so delightful. She's just such a little angel, and I love her dearly. That covers almost everything that I wanted to talk about. Oh my god, I also wanted to stress how like open and willing I am right now to receive video suggestions. If there's anything in particular that you want to see me talk about, discuss, break down in terms of gender or politics or anarchism or whatever, I would love to hear about it. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that I have recently been doing a lot of artsy craftsy things, and I'm working on setting up an online store site so that you can purchase them from me. So if you want to support a starving artist, keep an eye out for that, and I will certainly like post about it everywhere once it's up and talk about it in whatever YouTube video happens when it's ready. So keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Obviously no pressure, but I wanted to also like emphasize that it's not like a traditional merch store, because it'll all be like things I've handmade. So my stock won't be like huge, but some like maybe a little preview if you're interested. I feel like not a lot of people are gonna watch this video, so this is for like, you know, the hardcore people who are here for the whole video. You're here at the end of the video and you get to see. So I lino cut some stamps that I made into patches. So I have just like a long chain patch. I have that in a couple colors. I have a coffin that says Hellbound on it. This one's another good example. Ooh. And then maybe this one might be my favorite, a little transgender pansy design. Triangle that says Bash Back. This one says Compost the Rich. They're all in like little gothic fonts because that's my favorite personally. So yeah, I have a handful of each of those. I also have some pinback buttons that I've like collaged, such as Capitalism is Isolation, Dreaming of Collective Care, Imagine Accessibility, Normalize Vengeance. Those are some of the options. There's more. And then on top of that, I also have quite the handful of zines. I wrote like a 48-page zines for one of my philosophy classes about love and liberation. I really like it. I think it's delightful, and I would love like feedback on it. I want people to read it, so I'm selling them. They're all hand bound. They all have like different colors of string that I bound them with. I hand collaged a copy and then scanned it. They're really fun. I'm very proud of them. So those will be on the website. I also have a handful of other zines. I have one about labels and flowers. I have one about queercore and trans rep. And then I also recently finished one about Denny, the Pansy Division song. It has a really fun backstory that I feel like not a lot of people know about. So I wrote about it after doing like quite a bit of research. And I'm really proud of that one too. So yeah, and that I think was the last thing that I want to talk about. Hopefully you enjoyed sitting down with me, chatting. Leave a comment, hit me up in the comments if you have video suggestions or requests or thoughts. Goodbye. I hope your life is not as chaotic recently as mine has been, and I hope that you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week and a wonderful until whenever I see you next. And I will talk to you later, maybe.